century, the speed, overcrowding, worry, and clamor of daily events seem to make stress an inescapable fact of life. This has been called the age of anxiety, but the feelings of stress are not new. They are as old as man himself. The common symptoms of stress are part of the fight or flight response. An important part of our evolutionary heritage is the physiological capacity to respond instantly to a threat, or anything we perceive as a threat. For most of us, the fight or flight response would be more accurately called the stress response. This innate reaction automatically prepares us for direct and decisive action. Unfortunately, direct and decisive action is no longer always appropriate. There are many different kinds of situations that can trigger the stress response. Let's take another look at what happens in that instant we perceive a threat. When the brain receives a stimulus we call a stressor, the hypothalamic area of the brain is stimulated. A message is sent to the pituitary, which in turn stimulates the adrenal gland and the sympathetic nervous system. From here, messages go to many organs of the body: heart, lungs, stomach. In moments, the entire body is changing to meet the demand. The pulse quickens. The lungs take in more oxygen to fuel the muscles. Muscle tension increases. Blood pressure goes up. Pupils dilate, and perspiration increases. These physiological preparations occur to some degree every time we face a stressful situation. Of course, we are not always confronted with a physical demand. Mental demands trigger the same internal response as physical demands. But the stress of mental demands is harder to dissipate because there is no direct physical outlet.
All right, Mr. Henderson, we're ready for your report now.
We all know the feeling: the racing heart, the damp hands, dry mouth, sense of pressure.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Peter Henderson, and I'm privileged to have this opportunity to speak with you this morning.
Much of the pressure and tension we commonly associate with stress comes from the continual physiological excitation aroused by mental demands. This pressure in itself is generally perceived as negative and can cause even more stress as mind and body combine in a spiral of tension and discomfort.
This first chart demonstrates the demographics of classes, and we have them, as you can see, broken down into income and age level. The red illustrates income, and the blue illustrates age, as you can well see.
When the stress level in an organization is manageable, people can be very productive.
Excuse me, Gladys, can you make sure these get to the 19th floor by this afternoon?
Okay, thank you.
But when individuals suffer from excessive stress, it is obvious that the organizations they work for will also suffer. Because of stress, people make mistakes. People become fatigued and depressed. People become sick and miss work.
I'd like you to prepare a memo on the MBL changes for this afternoon's meeting.
Here's the MBL changes for this afternoon.
Thank you.
Because of stress, people become irritable and difficult to work with. As a result, the quality and quantity of work in the whole organization declines. Stress accumulates. Each part of our lives affects the other parts. The tensions of family life inevitably make the pressures of the job even more stressful.
First Little League game, his very first game, and you mean to tell me you're not going to be here? You were at the office last night, you were at the office the night before. Why don't you just stay there?
All too often, stress becomes uncomfortable, debilitating, even a health problem.
At any one time, 1 out of 4 of us is suffering from a chronic excitation of the stress response. If you push your blood pressure up 30 or 40 times a day, after a while, it tends to just stay there. Headaches, backaches, muscular fatigue, irritability, tension, these are some of the earlier symptoms of stress. However, over the long run, stress happens to be the major killer of Americans today through coronary artery disease and associated heart attack.
I didn't get the art specs, so I cannot.
Well, look, you can't have the art specs unless the manuscript's done.
It's 30 people waiting for that. You've got to get it there.
For many people, avoiding an unhealthy level of stress is difficult.
I don't have time.
Just get it there. I don't care how.
Usually, the problem is too much pressure. But when there are not enough demands, people become bored, frustrated, and unproductive. Finding the right level of stress is never easy. If the strings of an instrument are too loose, they moan and groan. If they are too tight, the result is a screech. But when the instrument is properly tuned, we get music. Many people think stress is very destructive, but that is not always the case. Stress is a necessary part of life. Without stress, there are no challenges, no personal growth. The goal of stress management is not simply to avoid or reduce excess stress, but to use stress as a natural resource of energy and stimulation. Just as a marathon runner must endure the stress of extensive training, each of us needs continued stress to develop any capacity, mental or physical. By being in touch with ourselves, we can recognize our optimum level of stress. Too much or too little stress is a problem, but it's the kind of problem that can be solved. When stress problems occur again and again, it is time to look for a solution. But some ways of dealing with stress problems create other problems of their own. Using drugs and alcohol to reduce your level of tension often turns into a vicious cycle. It works in the short term, but in the long run, it may create much greater problems, including alcoholism and drug addiction. Of course, there are many healthy ways to cope with stress. Some, like jogging, increase physical fitness. Regular physical exercise can relieve tension and make us feel renewed and invigorated. It can also promote lower blood pressure. For some individuals, physical exercise alone is enough to alleviate stress. But many people find that other stress reduction techniques are more effective. Some of these have been around for centuries. Yogis, Zen monks, and others have long practiced meditation and described the enormously relaxing effect it has. On the simplest level, meditation is a way to achieve a peaceful state of mind.
Studies demonstrate the real physiological effect the regular practice of meditation has. Some people have achieved permanent decreases in blood pressure. Others have learned how to avoid headaches or to prevent problems with anxiety.
Stress reduction techniques are proliferating, and sometimes it can be difficult to identify the most legitimate methods. The aim of acupressure is to put the body's energy in balance. The goal of hypnotism is to utilize the power of the mind.
90.
Okay, just let go now. Just begin to let go. Let every muscle and nerve just begin to relax. Take a deep breath. Just feel the tension leaving your body. And feeling the relaxation now from the tips of your toes, slowly moving through your entire body.
A new technique for measuring and controlling your stress is biofeedback. First step, recognize are predisposed to stress. Personality is the focus of a well-known study on heart disease by Meyer Friedman and Ray Rosenman. They describe two distinct types of personality, A and B, who might be expected to react very differently to identical situations. The type B personality is relaxed, passive, unhurried, uncompetitive. He is unlikely to push himself or others. He takes the time to ponder problems and often finds imaginative solutions. The type A personality is an obsessive striver. He eagerly accepts responsibilities, has a chronic sense of time urgency, and is very competitive, aggressive, and even hostile. His compulsion to do an ever greater quantity of work often impairs the quality of his work. While most people fall somewhere between these extremes, those with type A characteristics are more prone to suffer from stress. Studies show a clear link between the highly stressed type A personality and incidence of coronary heart disease. John Murphy, executive.
I've been through enough psychological testing to have gotten the feedback that I have a tendency toward anxiety, a fairly low level of tolerance for stress. And that was an important discovery because I think that before you can really do anything about that, you really have to buy off on the idea that a lot of what you feel is stress you're doing to yourself. That events and reality in themselves are not either inherently stressful or unstressful. They're facts that exist, and whether they're stressful depends an awful lot on your interpretation of them and how you react to them and whether you let them bother you or not.
Sometimes little things make us feel a lot of stress, but that stress is really caused by the way we perceive the situation, not by the events themselves.
I was just making a long-distance call to New York, and I got cut off.
Everyone gets upset at times, but if it happens frequently, your personality may be the cause.
Hello? Operator? Hello? Yes. Operator?
Operator, one moment, please.
Hello? Operator? Operator?
Stress is not reality. Stress is how your mind reacts to the reality around it and what kind of a prison it builds for you. That's what stress is.
Just as certain personality types are linked to stress, certain jobs also have a high stress component. Long-term stress problems show up in jobs that have a lot of time pressure, jobs that give no feeling of personal achievement, jobs where the work is endless, with no sense of completion. Some jobs induce stress through the pressure to perform.
United 52, turn right heading 060.
Many jobs cause stress, but air traffic controllers suffer a far greater incidence of ulcers and other stress-related ailments than the population at large. Perhaps the greatest source of their stress is that air traffic controllers bear enormous responsibility for events beyond their direct control. Responsibility without control is a source of stress in many jobs. Of course, there are as many causes of stress on the job as there are jobs themselves, for each has its own unique problems. But especially in large organizations, some situations occur again and again, which managers across the country have identified as almost inevitably stressful. Time pressure can make even simple tasks extremely stressful and reduce efficiency.
How you doing, Dave? Okay. How about a little racquetball at lunch today?
No, I haven't got time, especially if you want that report in by 6.
Oh, yeah. I gotta have it today.
Well, it's gonna be tight.
One of the first symptoms of time pressure is wasting time worrying about deadlines.
Every time I turn around, there's more work staring me in the face. I wanted this job. I guess I should take whatever comes my way, but no, I don't know. I don't know what to do. All I know is I've got to finish this report by 6 o'clock, and there's just no end to it.
Many managerial jobs require people to confront an endless stream of problems that often go unresolved for months and even years.
Well, Margaret, here's the Parsons proposal. Let me know what you think of it, will you?
Right.
Oh, when you get a chance, I'd like you to make up monthly summaries of all the data files. You think you can do that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty tied up with this right now.
Well, that's all right. You can do it in your spare time. Oh, and incidentally, I will need those reorganizational plans.
Well, actually, Bob, I'm really...
very anxious to see it. Let me know when you're ready to talk about the Parsons proposal.
Establishing priorities can alter one's perception of the whole workload and make it seem less of a burden. Whenever people work with each other...
What do you mean he's out?
I gave him the week off.
Well, then he could come in.
Well, yeah, but he's been working awful hard on this proposal, Bob, and I promised him he could have the time now. I can get one of the guys from advertising. I mean, they've got 10 guys over there who can do this kind of work. But I just don't want to jeopardize my standing with Larry now by bringing him in when he doesn't have to come.
I think to bring in a new man and to take the time to update him on the project's unrealistic. I haven't decided yet how I want to handle the Cutler project. Any one of you could handle this, I'm sure.
The stress of competitive performance is often magnified by underlying anxieties and fears.
I'm curious to know how each one of you would handle it, assuming you were in charge.
Oh, no. He's going to ask me to manage this project.
Secret fears of incompetence rise to the surface.
I've been wanting to manage one, but not this one. I'm not ready. This project's a turkey.
I don't understand. Am I getting too old?
The fear of failure haunts many managers.
Maybe it's true I just don't have it anymore. I don't know.
What if he asks me a question and I don't know the answer?
Many people fear looking foolish.
What if I just open my mouth and nothing comes out? That's exactly what they'd expect a woman to do. Well, maybe I can just, maybe he won't call on me first.
Let's start with you, Margaret, all right?
Well, as you know, Bob, I've been very busy lately and really haven't had much time.
The stress of competition may be reduced by recognizing that the outcome is usually not as crucial as you imagine.
Dave, how about you?
I really feel put on the spot to make a proposal off the top of my head. I was really tense, and as she was talking, I was getting more and more nervous.
To actually change the situation, you might admit the extent of your own nervousness. This can make everyone feel less on the spot.
The opposite tack.
All right. Walt, how about you? Any input?
Well, I feel that given the subject matter we're working with...
The stress we bring on ourselves is bad enough. But an additional problem, especially for the manager, is that he may be inadvertently causing enormous amounts of stress in those around him.
That will help us.
At the turn of the century, New York City was plagued by Typhoid Mary, a cook who unknowingly was a highly infectious carrier of typhoid fever. A contemporary and perhaps equally destructive version of Typhoid Mary is the stress carrier. A stress carrier may feel no stress whatsoever, and and not even realize that others are troubled. There are many ways the manager might inadvertently create a climate of anxiety, fear, and stress in his office. Keeping people in the dark, putting people on the defensive, and undermining confidence are just a few of the ways a stress carrier makes his associates anxious. And anxious people do not do their best work.
Sarah, would you set up a meeting with the staff in about a half hour? Is that possible? Good.
Of course, you can't solve all your problems related to stress in one staff meeting. It takes a long-term commitment. But opening up the lines of communication is a good start. Personal style is never easy to change, but until it is recognized as a problem, it is impossible to change.
It occurred to me that perhaps it's something that I'm doing. I know there are times when I've been too abrupt. Other times when I'm sure I've intimidated some of you. I want you to know that's not been the intention at all.
Even though you may be even-tempered and reasonable, you may still be a stress carrier. A good way to find out if you are is to ask those around you.
So I'd appreciate it if you would share with me, tell me those things that I'm doing that are bothering you. I'm open to that. Margaret, we've talked about the fact that you've been overworked of late. Is there anything else that you might want to say?
Well, actually, there are a few things. I don't feel you communicate enough with me. With the data file project, for instance. Rather than asking me if I had the time to do the project, you threw it at me and gave me an ultimatum. I find that difficult to deal with.
All right, I can understand that. Thank you. Dave, how about you?
I'd like to echo what Margaret said. And, you know, there's a lot of times where I just don't know where I stand with you. If I bring you a report and you say nothing, no evaluation, just thank you. Nothing good, nothing bad. And to me, that's worse than a negative evaluation.
Nail me, will you, the next time that happens?
I will.
Okay. Walt, how about you?
Well, frankly, Bob, it would be better if you didn't go to people in my department and approve their work before I get a chance to see it, because then when it gets to my desk, I might have a different opinion, and then where are we?
All right. I thank you all. It's been very enlightening. I don't know that any miracle will take place overnight in relation to my change, but know that I'll be working on it, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Just as individuals create stress, so do organizations. Rigid rules, chaotic procedures, and office politics can create a climate of uncertainty and frustration. Since organizations often cause stress problems, some of them are taking steps to solve them as well. A number of organizations are setting up stress management programs. Several different organizations participate in this cardio fitness center in New York. Meditation is becoming a very popular method of stress reduction in the business community. Some organizations are even providing special meditation rooms for their employees.
Greg, as you may be aware, the reason that I called you in here is to tell you that your job has been terminated. We're going to have to let you go.
Why? I just don't understand. All of a sudden, my job is terminated.
Well, it really isn't all of a sudden.
The Equitable Life Assurance Society is trying to deal with stress on a company-wide, systematic basis. Dr. James Menuso uses methods like role-playing to help managers cope with particularly stressful situations, such as the job termination interview.
And I think that fearfulness and that negative competition has got you into this jam.
Also available is the biofeedback program, where employees learn to regulate their response to whatever causes them stress.
Managers are particularly susceptible to long-range stress because they're competing, fighting deadlines, and dealing with open-ended problems, situations that never seem to have an end, projects that appear to be ongoing. This can take a real toll. We offer then a complete emotional health program for employees.
Well, as you know, I hesitated to come, Doctor, but...
Anyone can become anxious or depressed, and just knowing that help is available on a completely confidential basis with no stigma in itself helps to reduce the effects of stress.
While organizations can do much to alleviate stress, the ultimate responsibility for solving the problem rests with the individual.
I think probably one of the most pernicious things that we do to ourselves is what I call the vague premonitions of disaster. We look around us and we see we've got these tasks and these commitments and these deadlines, and we think maybe we're on a collision course or we're going to have some problem, and we have a vague sense that something awful will happen if we don't produce. I find that what really helps in that kind of situation is say, okay, supposing this project were late or blew up or wasn't accepted or for some reason didn't play, what's the worst thing that could happen? And you have to kind of play the game with yourself. You know, would you be dead? Well, no. Would you be in prison? No. Would you be unemployed? Well, yeah. Yeah, this could cost me my job if this really went sour. Well, how bad is that? Well, I've had job offers before. I could probably get a job. The logic is just asking yourself those kind of questions till you get to what you think is the worst realistic thing that could happen. And then accept that as a reasonably tolerable base point and start working up from there.
Many people are afraid to acknowledge that they suffer the effects of stress. They feel that such an admission would be taken for weakness and would hamper their progress up the organizational ladder. But in the long run, the exact opposite is true. Ultimately, performance is decisive in determining progress, and our performance is very sensitive to the stress levels that we experience. So if you take the time out to properly deal with the stress, your performance will be enhanced, and then in turn, your progress will continue.
Karen Brethauer, an executive with a large banking firm, encounters stress all the time in her work.
One of the ways that I personally have learned to control stress over a period of time is to recognize that I create the stress. And if someone is very upset with me at something I've done, that's a reality that's out there. If I get upset about their being upset, then I've created that upsetness myself, and I have that choice.
Each of us needs a certain amount of stress in order to work effectively. But when that stress is improperly managed, the costs to individuals and to organizations can be tremendous, both in economic terms and in human terms. It is necessary that we develop new ways to manage stress.
The endurance needed to run longer and longer distances must be developed gradually. So too must the capacity to endure the stress that accompanies greater and greater responsibility. Stress is just beginning to be understood, both as a problem and as a positive force. Just as we have learned that excess stress can be debilitating to our health, we are discovering that at the optimum level, stress can be a tremendous resource. With the right amount of stress, people perform at their peak capacity. They are very productive, very impressive,